So we're going to have Erica and Wen Chi joining us back on camera now for the STEAM section of this program. And the STEAM component is going to focus on creating that primary mirror of the Webb Space Telescope using origami. Origami is a decorative art form and provides solutions to many problems in modern science and engineering. The pattern that we're going to work on tonight is designed by NASA, and it is suitable for all ages. So if you want to get your pattern ready, and if you don't have one, there is a pattern in the handout section, and Wen Chi and Erica will point that out to you as well. And I'd like to give a book shout out to Air and Space Origami. So this book, if you'd like to try your hand at folding some additional space-themed origami, you can fold some realistic paper models of some of the most astonishing aircraft and spacecraft ever designed, including commercial jetliners to single and multi-stage rockets, a re-entry space pod, and even a UFO. This is an ebook, and it's available for immediate checkout through Hoopla Digital with no wait list and no holds. And so I'm going to turn my mic and camera off and turn the program over to Erica and Wen Chi.
Hey guys, welcome to the origami portion of this program. Before we get started with any folding, I just want to point out the two handouts. We have a set of origami instructions, and we also have a pattern that we have provided, or you can also download it at the link that we have below from NASA. Now this pattern is about 15 by 15 inches, but as Ms. Wen Chi is going to show you, you can also do it on a smaller piece of paper, an 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 8. Okay. So as we're going through this craft, it is an advanced origami craft and it does take some time, but what we're going to do tonight is just go through each step of the pattern and show you how to do step 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we will be posting all of this information on our YouTube channel, Tampa Hills Live, and you can go back and review that information and do all of this at your own pace. All right, so Ms. Wen Chi, if you could just show us the pattern. Before we do any folding, you want to make sure that you cut out the pattern so it looks like so. When you're cutting this out, you want to make sure you use safety scissors if you're a child, or you have a responsible adult help you cut out the whole pattern. Right? So we are going to get started with our folding. The first video that we're going to watch is going to go over something that is called a valley fold. So Ms. Wen Chi, if you can hold up the pattern one more time, you'll notice that there are a bunch of lines all over the pattern where the hexagons are, and some of these lines are red. All of the red lines are going to be folded forward, and that is a valley fold. So we'll go ahead and get started with video number 1, valley folds.
With your pattern already cut out, we're going to start with step 1, valley folds. In origami, valley folds are folded towards the front and mountain folds are folded towards the back. To make the creases sharp, we're going to use an HC PLC library card as a straight-edged tool. You'll start from the bottom, folding the valley lines, going hexagon by hexagon, row by row, and you'll notice some of the rows have 2 red valley lines, as you'll see here, and some of the rows have 3 red valley lines that you fold. And we're just speeding this up so that you can see we are covering all of the red valley lines, going from one side of the pattern all the way to the other side, row by row. After you complete your first set of valley lines, you'll need to rotate by 120 degrees to get the next set of valley lines. Rotate by 120 degrees one more time and do the last set of red valley lines. As you feel along the paper, you'll notice every single red valley line has been folded, and when you flip the pattern over to the back, you'll also see all of the creases that have been formed from folding all the red valley lines. All of the creases that you made by folding the valley lines will come in handy later. But for now, you can flip your pattern over as we move on to step number 2.
All right, so that video shows step number 1, which is folding all of the red valley lines on the pattern. Now, we don't expect you to finish all of that right now, but we are showing you step by step what to do. So at this point, Miss Wenchi is going to show us what the origami is going to look like once we have folded all of the red valley lines. And you can look closely and see all those red lines that are next to the hexagons. They have all been folded forward in the typical way that you would fold paper. And again, that's called a valley fold. When you flip it to the back, as Ms. Wenchi is showing, it creates something called a crease. So this crease will come in handy later in step number 3. But for now, we're going to flip over to the front again. And as you saw, we have red lines on the pattern, but we also have blue lines on the pattern. So around every red line, we have 2 blue lines, and these are going to be our mountain folds. So the red valley lines are folded in one direction, and the blue mountain lines are going to be folded in the opposite direction. We'll go ahead and show you how to accomplish this in video number 2, which is mountain folds.
Welcome to step number 2, which is folding our mountain folds. Now remember, mountain folds go in the opposite direction of valley folds. So to make it easier, we're going to flip our pattern over to the back. In order to see what we're doing, you're going to pull the paper up from the bottom to reveal the blue mountain lines. And in similar fashion to the valley fold side, we will be folding row by row from the bottom to the top, and some of the rows will have 2 mountain lines to fold, and some of the rows will have 3 mountain lines to fold. When you get to the middle of the pattern, don't forget that the black hexagon in the middle is surrounded by blue mountain lines that are hard to see but also need to be folded. And if you need to, feel free to move the pattern around in whatever way makes it comfortable for you to fold all of those blue mountain folds. With the first set of mountain lines done, you'll rotate by 120 degrees, just like you did with the valley lines. Flip to the back and start the second set of mountain lines. This step actually takes about twice as long as step number 1 because you have twice the amount of mountain lines as you do valley lines. Once again, don't forget to fold the blue lines above the black hexagon in the middle, as well as the blue mountain lines that are below the black hexagon in the middle. Once you cross the middle, feel free to move the pattern around as needed, again, to make it as comfortable as possible to fold all of those blue mountain lines. Rotate by 120 degrees, make sure you're flipped to the back, and do your last set of blue mountain lines. After 2 rotations and lots of folds, you have completed step 2, mountain folds.
All right, so we'll come back and we are done with step number 2, which was our mountain fold step. Now, Miss Wenchy is going to show you what your pattern should look like at this moment in time with all of your valley folds completed and all of your mountain folds completed. So all of the red lines and all of the blue lines are folded on your pattern. And if you flip to the back, you'll see all of the creases that were created. So if you get a real close up here, all of the little ridges that are sticking out, those are all of the red valley lines that we folded in step 1. And all of the lines that are going in the opposite direction are the blue mountain lines that we folded in step 2. In step 3, we're going to be moving on to a pinching step, but before we go there, I just want to double check and see if we have any questions so far about what we've done with the valley lines or the mountain lines.
Hi, Erica. We have some users curious about the speed at which you guys went. They weren't able to keep up. So what do they do?
They were able to keep up or they weren't able to keep up?
They were not.
They were not. Okay, it's not actually humanly possible to be able to keep up with that video because it is sped up to like 8 times speed, and that's okay. Right now we are just showing you the different steps to complete the origami, but we will be posting the entire video to our YouTube channel, and you can find that, I believe the link is in the chat, youtube.com/Tampa Hills Live. When we post the video, you'll be able to follow along, pause it, and complete each step at a normal pace. You can also try out the steps on your own if you have just the origami pattern and the instructions that are in the handout section of the chat. You can download those and print those out. So don't worry if you can't do it as quickly as we're showing today.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions before we move on?
Nope, that's it.
Awesome. All right. So at this point, again, we have folded the red valley lines and the blue mountain lines in theory, okay? And we're going to move on to the next step, which is a pinch fold. So we'll go to video number 3.
Welcome to step 3, which is a pinch fold. With the pattern face up, you'll choose 2 adjacent hexagons. In between the 2 hexagons, you'll notice 1 red valley line surrounded by 2 blue mountain lines. With the pattern facing towards the back, what you can do is use your handy-dandy library card and a red pen or marker to mark all of your valley fold creases. All of these creases will be folded up, and these are the creases that you will be pinching in this step. You can also use a blue pen to mark your mountain line creases on the back of the pattern. This is optional, but it lets you see where your valley lines and mountain lines are. And to get started with our pinch fold, we're looking at the pattern from the front and we'll see that red valley line. That's where we will pinch from the back of the pattern, and we will bring the two blue mountain lines together to touch. With their hexagons touching each other, you can flip over to the back and you'll notice we pinch the red valley line and the blue lines are brought together. Moving to the next hexagon, we'll pinch our valley line crease, and you'll keep going from hexagon to hexagon, pinching any valley crease on the back of the pattern. As you're doing this from the back, and if you flip over to the front, all of the hexagons are starting to come together. If you are struggling, just flip to the back and pinch every valley crease from step number 1. When in doubt, keep pinching, and the corners between all of the hexagons will naturally tuck into each other. As you do this pinching technique, feel free to flip from the back to the front as needed to make sure that you pinch every red valley line. The more that you pinch those red valley lines, the more you'll see your hexagons come together and start to form the James Webb mirror. And once you have pinched all of the valley creases from the back, you have completed step 3.
All right, so at this point we have completed our valley lines, our mountain lines, as well as all of the pinch folding that we did from the back of the pattern. So Miss Wenchie can show you what that will look like once it's complete. You'll see from the front, all the hexagons are brought together. And then if you flip it over to the back, you'll see all of your work where all of your red valley lines are pinched, all the blue lines are brought together, and all of the little corners between the hexagons are tucked into each other. This was probably one of the most difficult steps in the origami project. But again, remember that you can watch the video on our YouTube channel Tampa Hills Live. And again, Ms. Wenchie, if you could show us that smaller version of the origami project, it is possible to do this on a smaller piece of paper. All right, so we are getting near the end of the project here. We have completed all of the pinch folds, and we're gonna finish out the rest of the project by completing the edges. We'll go to video number 4, which is finishing the edges.
Welcome to step 4 of this origami craft, which is finishing the edges. To get started, we will search for a hexagon in the pattern that has 3 red valley lines on its outer edge. We'll start with the bottom red valley line, and then we'll want to fold the next adjacent red valley line along the edge. And where these 2 red valley lines intersect, you will pinch the paper outwards at a point. Moving to the next hexagon, you will continue to fold any red valley lines you encounter, and where the red valley lines intersect in this point, the paper will fold inward instead of outward. Keep moving along the edge, folding every red valley line, and let the paper be your guide, as it will want to point outward or it will want to point inward where your red valley lines intersect. As you're going along the edge of the pattern and folding, you may see 2 corners poking out, 1 poking in, 1 corner poking out, 1 poking in, and so on. Most importantly though, you just want to let the paper be your guide. Speeding this along so you can see that we're going along the edge of the pattern, folding each red valley line and pinching either outward or inward depending on the intersection and where the paper is guiding us. If you're struggling a little bit, remember to give yourself some wiggle room at each intersection of red valley lines. Repeat until complete. Once you have completed step 4, give yourself a huge pat on the back for sticking it out and completing this advanced origami craft. You have now created a replica of the James Webb Telescope mirror. Thank you for joining us and watching this amazing craft unfold.
All right, so we have gone through steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 of this origami craft. We will be compiling all 4 of those videos into a future YouTube video that you can refer to. And remember that you can download or pick up while supplies last the pattern as well as the instructions to be able to complete this advanced origami project. I'll turn it over to Ms. Jenny to see if there's any other questions.
Sure, we have a couple questions. How long have the both of you been creating origami?
So I'll start, and I don't know if Ms. Wenshi wants to jump in, but I started doing origami this summer, actually. I did an origami project where I created a little Among Us character. So I looked up how to do that, and I started reading about origami and learning all of the basic folds. But Ms. Wenshi here has been doing origami a little bit longer. I'll let you answer that.
So when I was in elementary, everyone liked to fold papers. It doesn't have to be origami paper. It can be printing paper, and classmates just get together and start to fold. So I started from childhood.
So this pattern, as you mentioned, is pretty advanced. NASA says it's for all ages, but they are rocket scientists, space scientists. So how long did it take you guys to figure out how to fold this pattern?
It took us days. It took a long time. When we first got the pattern, we only had 2 instructions, which were fold the valley lines, unfold the mountain lines, and that's it. We had no other instructions. So I started doing that. I started folding all the lines, but I couldn't figure out how to put it all together. So Ms. Wenshi, who has had a lot more experience with origami, she kind of was curious about what I was working on, and she was like, well, let me give it a shot. So she also kind of, struggled with it for a little while, but then she figured out to do a pinch fold. So this took a long time to develop. It took a few of us to figure it out and work as a team, and then also figure out how to teach it and explain it to other people.
Exactly.
Did you have anything to add, Wenshi, about that process?
Well, I think if you are interested in folding origami, the library has a great collection about origami. Come to your local library, and then we will take you to that section, and then you can check out as many books as you like. You can starting out from folding like little animals, like a dog or a cat. Those are very basic entry level. Yeah, so if you are interested in more origami, we have a lot of resources.
Excellent. So STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. How do you think that origami can help with STEAM learning?
Wow, I feel like that's a very broad question. I think with origami, it definitely hits the engineering portion of it. And when we were studying this craft as well as James Webb, we kept coming across this phrase called elegant engineering over and over again. So I know that the mirror is something that has to be folded in order for it to fit into the telescope. So I do believe that they use some of the principles of origami in folding the shape in a practical way. And then I think origami also is very artistic. So we're using geometry and other scientific principles, engineering principles to build something, but it's also something beautiful and elegant and artistic.
That's great. That was a really good answer.
Yes.
So I don't see that we have any more questions. No, that was it. But thank you so much, both of you, for doing that. And thank you, everyone else, for joining us this evening. If you need to contact the library in any way, you can reach us. The phone number on the slide, 813-273-3652 or hcplc.org/connect. We also highly recommend that you check out our upcoming classes and events. That's hcplc.org/events. And if the library has impacted your life in any way, we would love to hear your story. You can submit your library story at hcplc.org/stories. And we are done for the evening, so thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.